Hello, world. This is America's Supermom, and this is a special edition that I call the Corona Chronicles. During this time, we are suffering from a pandemic that is affecting everyone across the world. We are joined with the rules and regulations of being shelter in place, which means we are limited with the ability to go about our daily business, confined to our homes based on a coronavirus that has been sweeping the entire world. For some people, the effects could be mild. For others, it can be fatal. So we are coming together as a community, as a family during this time of difficulty to share what it is like in our part of the world, how we are affected, and the things that we have in common, what kind of problems that are taking place in our industries and in our relationships and finances, and coming together so that we can plan for a better tomorrow. As this epidemic or pandemic crosses the world, we are waiting for relief. We're waiting for the virus to die off and for us to go back to some state of normalcy, whatever that may be, after things kind of settle down. So, what is that going to look like once the dust settles? How are things going to be different? So, as we go through this process, we're coming together as a world to create ideas, strategies, connect in ways that we have never connected before. So, that is the purpose of the special podcast that I call the Corona Chronicles, so that we can get some insight and have empathy and compassion on one another, create new innovative ideas that can not only improve our life, but our fellow brothers and sisters across the world. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, my name is
Yep.
Daniel Gomez, and I'm a keynote speaker, corporate trainer, and confidence architect. And I help people and businesses elevate to levels they never thought of and find their true potential. So, me and my wife have our nonprofit called the Mighty Strong Foundation, where we give back
Mm-hmm.
to women who have been impacted by breast cancer. And it's an amazing feeling when you give back to women. My wife herself is a breast cancer survivor of 2 years, so
Oh,
it's a blessing to do that.
praise God. Yeah. So I'm really intrigued. The confidence architect. That is so great. Very creative way to put it. So, how did you get into this field of work?
What Well, when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017, we ended up working still, of course, until her day of surgery. She had a double mastectomy,
Mm-hmm.
and after she had her double mastectomy, everything changed. She just got depressed. She didn't feel
Mm,
beautiful. She would put on a blouse, and she would literally change like 4 or 5 times a day because it just, your breasts that were there, your C cup, now there's nothing there.
mm-hmm.
So I can't imagine what the feelings like. So she just got sad on me, and little by little, she just deteriorated as far as her emotions go. So I made a decision. I called my boss one day, said, "Hey, I need to take the day off today," and they were very supportive at first, but I think they didn't understand. Like even 2 months after the surgery, that
Mm-hmm.
that it's an emotional healing, and
Mm-hmm.
and women and men. I mean, we all need to be healed emotionally. And it's like, well, you got to come to work, and the conversation kind of got ugly, and I said, I think this is where I we part ways, and he didn't take me seriously, and he
Mm.
got so mad. I had a I had a demonstration. They called it a demo in the car business. I had a demo, and he was
Mm-hmm.
so upset that he came and they picked up that demo the same day. He was off.
Wow. Wow.
But yeah,
Mm.
I resigned and took care of my wife, and I noticed I was watching too much TV, and I didn't want to watch TV because I was never a TV person at that point in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
I just came across Think and Grow Rich, the book. I said I need to do something
Mm-hmm.
productive because if not, I'm just going to get stuck in the wrong mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I read Think and Grow Rich, and my whole life just like my mind just opened up. I think I was ready for it,
That is
and
so
um,
awesome.
I did the Chief Definite Purpose, and
Mhm.
I can tell you with confidence and with honesty that I've been saying my Chief Definite Purpose for the last almost, I would say, going on 3 years already, over 2.5 years. I've been saying it every day,
Mm.
and I see what I wrote on there coming to fruition. And
Mhm.
people don't realize what you really focus on, it really does come to pass.
That is just amazing. Now, do you know? Let's go back to this point of actually knowing that this job was just not serving you anymore. Because a lot of people are in that space, and even now, we're in a pandemic where people are really kind of getting focused on what their priorities are. We're kind of forced to. So if somebody is in that place, what did that look like for you?
Well, I would say this. I would say right now is a great opportunity to really self assess who you are. And I say that because when my wife, like I said, when we were going through this transition and I left my job,
Mhm.
Lachelle, I looked in the mirror and I
Mhm.
didn't like who I saw.
Mm.
It was about money. It was about ambition. It was about just what I think just with the successes that I had. It's kind of like I put this is the analogy I always give. It's like nobody wants to gain weight, right? But one day we wake up and we're like, oh crap, my shorts don't fit me, my
Mhm.
pants don't fit me. Well, at that point in my life, I think I got saved when I was 26 years old. So by that
Mhm.
time, I was already 40, and I had one foot in, one foot out with God. And
Mm.
I say that because God had blessed me so much. People don't realize. I get a kick out of believers, right? Christians that say, "Well, why is that person being blessed?" I'm like, "Well, because maybe they're giving and you're not." And
Mhm.
I'm just being honest. But I understood, and I knew the principles of God, and I knew that the more
Mhm.
I sowed, the more I was going to reap. So I understood the financial part of it, and I was blessed abundantly that because of that. Because no matter what, I always gave, and I always gave above and beyond whenever God put it in my heart. Like I was in tune with that, but I still wanted to be Daniel, right? At that point in my
Mhm.
life, and when I looked in the mirror, I was like, I didn't like who Daniel was when.
Mm.
Because I used to run multi-million-dollar dealerships, and when you don't have 100 employees to take care of, when you don't have an inventory of used cars to take care of, when you don't have an inventory of 100 used cars to take care of, it's like it's just you and you. All your friends are gone.
Mhm.
And when she had her
Mhm.
double mastectomy, I mean, of course, we weren't going out having dinner or going out with friends or anything anymore. So it's just like it's a reality check. And I
Mm.
think right now a lot of people are having a reality check, and it's how are you going to respond to that reality check? Because
Mhm.
your instinctive behavior is going to tell you who you are. So if you're listening to this podcast and you have found yourself these past couple of weeks in March that you've been really like getting snappy with your wife or getting snappy with your husband or yelling at your kids, it's not your kid's fault. It's not your wife's fault.
Mhm.
What's coming to the surface is who you really are. And you need
Mm.
to really self assess like, what do I need to do to change myself?
Mhm.
Because trauma, fear, sudden change is going to show your instinctive behaviors, and your instinctive behaviors are who you really
Mm.
are.
Mm.
And the only way to change that is to recondition your mindset. You got to recondition that, and you got to want to
Mhm.
grow. You got to want it, and I think that's what a lot of
Mhm.
people are facing right now. So I would tell your audience to embrace the opportunities that are here, and anybody put it this way: a problem is an opportunity to reveal your competency. A problem is an opportunity to reveal your
Mm.
genius. A problem is an opportunity to reveal your intelligence.
Mhm.
But at the same time, a problem reveals how immature you are.
Mhm. That's awesome. Now, so, going back to this point and having this time with your wife, how was it that you were able to kind of help her with her confidence? What were some things that, somebody could be in that place today where, they just don't have the same outlook like they used to for whatever reason, be it health or, just financial. What advice would you give them to kind of begin to rebuild that?
Well, first of all, what I would say is this: people forget about the human touch. And
Mhm.
in my new book, Sticker Shock, I talk
Mhm.
about that in chapter. I can't even think of what chapter it was right now, but it's called. Actually, I'm gonna change the name because I was we're doing the final edit. I did a soft launch, but we're doing a hard launch here coming up by in April. But so in
Okay.
chapter 9, it's called "Don't Lose the Human Touch." So actually, I'm gonna change that to the power of the human touch because that's what God put in my heart, right? The power of the human touch.
Okay.
So in this chapter, I talk about how a premature baby a premature baby is born and doesn't get that human touch, the likelihood of it dying is very high. It's just a proven scientific
Mm.
fact because a
Mhm.
baby needs its mother's human touch. That's the way we were created. And think of
Mhm.
a child that doesn't get those words of affirmation from his mom or dad. It's proven scientifically that that child grows up with more troubles, with not as much confidence, but the child that gets those words from their father and their mother, good job, son, good job, daughter, you're doing amazing. When they get those words of affirmation, those verbal affirmations, those children grow up to be more confident, more successful in life. It's proven time and time again. So I
Mhm.
would say
Mhm.
that even applies more when my wife was going through this. You have to give yourself, you have to give your children, you have to give your spouse, you have to give those verbal affirmations the human touch because it's a human, we need that. And I'll
Mhm.
never forget when
Mhm.
my wife had her double mastectomy. I mean, we were that was heartbreaking as it was to begin with, and then
Mhm.
we went back for the follow up surgery. Right, she had her double mastectomy, and then they tell us, man, like it was just like we got hit by another 18-wheeler. They said, well, Miss Gomez, Mr. Gomez. And you knew it was like, well, what's? It's like, okay, what now, God? Right? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
well, she ended up having skin cancer now on over her breast because I guess the cancer had spread out, or I don't know. Somehow
Mm.
from the breast cancer, the cancer cells ended up on her skin. And I said, well, and at that point, I think that was one of the. I think that's when the rubber hit the road when we really had to like dig deeper within God and within ourselves. And at
Mhm.
that point, we had a choice to curse God, to get mad at God, but we had a choice to
Mhm.
say, okay, God, what is it? What what are you trying to teach us here? Because this is way beyond our understanding. But I
Mhm.
think the main thing is,
Mhm.
even though we got disappointed, even though we were deflated,
Mhm.
we didn't lose hope. And I just told her it's going to be okay. And I think at that point, even more than ever, going back to the human touch, I just told my wife that I
Mhm.
loved her. I told her that she was beautiful. I told her that we were going to be okay. And honestly, I told her because I didn't really agree with a lot of the things that the doctors were saying because not that I know medicine, but I know God, and
Mhm.
I know the power of the mind. By that point, I had been
Mhm.
studying a lot. I mean, I've always done personal growth, but there was just a season in my life where I stopped growing because I didn't want to grow anymore. I reached that complacency.
Mhm.
But all
Yeah.
these thoughts that I had that were positive, that were good, that were helpful, I just coached her for those 2 years. And people say, well, how do you know you're a good coach? I'm like, well, because my wife's not dead, and by the grace of God, of course. But
Perfect.
it's like I say because I coached my wife to inspire herself, and then she inspired me. Like I mean, there was a point where the
Mhm.
teacher, where the student became the teacher. I can be honest with that. I said, what
Mhm.
excuse do I have as
Mhm.
a man not to get up if my wife is getting up at 3:30 in the morning to go to her CrossFit class?
Wow.
So I would
Mhm.
say definitely right now, if someone's going through that, I would do. As a matter of fact, I have a free gift for the audience, and it kind of goes, it explains it in the free training that I want to give to your audience. But what I recommend to my clients is look in the mirror, and the first person you have to give
Mhm.
words of affirmation to, that human touch, is you have to give it to yourself. I always say, look in
Mhm.
the mirror as you're brushing your teeth. Look in the mirror if you're putting on your makeup if you're a female, and tell yourself,
Mhm.
"I love you, Lachelle. I believe in you,
Mhm.
Lachelle. You're beautiful,
Mhm.
Lachelle." And when you
Mhm.
look into, and I challenge my clients to really get up close to the mirror, like get up close to the mirror and look into your pupils because the
Mhm.
pupils are the gateways to your soul, right? To your heart of hearts. And that's
Mhm.
where you
Mhm.
see what's really going on in somebody's heart is when you look into their pupils. And people have, I think over 90% of people have never gotten that close to their face in the mirror to where they really look in their pupils. Because I think sometimes when they
Right.
get that close, I think they get scared because they see how lonely or how disappointed they are in themselves.
Mhm. That's amazing. Yeah. So, this is just great. So, for people who, that whole process of being able to let go, of the money or the position and title, you know, um, when it came to you leaving your job and everything, um, for somebody who is at that place, because we can say that and we can understand it, and, it even becomes revealed to you, and you feel that there's something different that you have to do, but you're kind of in that place where it's like, that uncertainty, you don't really know. Um, what would you say to them, to take that extra leap, so to speak?
Well, I would say this. So, for my logo, it's a shield of faith, and for me, it's like you have to have faith in a higher power, whatever you believe in. For me,
Mhm.
it's God,
Mhm.
and when you have faith in
Mhm.
God, then that gives you faith and belief in yourself. And when you have faith and
Mhm.
belief in yourself, it gives you the faith and belief to take action. And I would say
Mhm.
this is that for myself, I just really had to. You're not going to have all the answers. If you have an idea right now, especially right now with all the chaos going on in our world, if you have within
Mhm.
yourself an idea, well, that's the universe or God speaking to you about what to do. Right? It's an inclination
Mhm.
of this is where I want you to go. This road is a dead end now. And right now, there's
Mhm.
going to be more multi-million. Think about this. And when the Great Depression happened, there was more multi-millionaires that came out of the Great Depression than went into the Great Depression. And I
Mhm.
honestly feel that right now, as we're going into this season, and I'm going to be honest with you, there's a lot of businesses that ain't going to make it, a lot of small ones. They're not going to
Mhm.
make it. So it's a great
Mhm.
opportunity to where if you've been having this idea, if you've been having this right now, there's going to be more opportunity better than ever. And unfortunately, it's going to be because some other businesses didn't make it. But I would tell you this is if you make every decision based on integrity, those are the businesses that are going to
Mhm.
flourish right now when you're based on integrity and you have that foundation where you don't lie, cheat, and you report all your income. Because Lachelle, I know many entrepreneurs, many small businesses
Mhm.
that don't report everything they make, and I don't believe in that.
Mhm.
I'm just
Mhm.
being honest. I always
Mhm.
find a way, even if somebody gives me $5, I try to put it into some type of account where it's miscellaneous, but I try to report. I mean, of course, there might be, I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but there might be like 0.1% that I forget because I'm human, right? But
Mhm.
99.9%, I report everything that I have by the grace of God. So I would tell those people right now that are thinking about it, you don't have to have all the answers. All you have to do is
Mhm.
take that idea and study a little bit, right? Learn what you're kind of gravitating to, and then just take action. And when I believe me,
Mhm.
and I'm going to say this right when people said when I went and told my wife, think about my scenario where I was at. My wife just had double
Mhm.
mastectomy. I resigned from my job, didn't have any income coming in. I left a job that was paying me over $150,000 a year and no income
Mhm.
coming in. But I had to step out on faith. You have to have faith. You have to have belief in
Mhm.
yourself and you have to be all in. And believe
Mhm.
me, it's not that I didn't struggle. I believe me, I struggled because I had that conditioning in my thinking that said you're crazy. You left a comfortable job. You could be working 9 to 5.
Mhm.
You could be making all this money, and it's like it stung for a long time. I mean, it was hard. Those that little voice, that little demon
Mhm.
in the side of your ear is going to be saying you're dumb, you're stupid, you're struggling.
Mhm.
And this is a saying
Mhm.
that I have, and maybe this will resonate with some of your audiences. I did a caption of Mimi that said, "You don't become a true entrepreneur until you find yourself in a restroom crying and you're 99.9% sure that you're going to give up,
Mm.
but you don't."
That's good. Mhm.
So, so I
That's
would
good.
tell your audience right now, if you have that idea, just take action. Just believe me, the people that are going to be attracted to you are going to help you. Right now, you have to look at what is your circle of influence, who are the 5 people you associate
Mhm.
with, and you have to understand that you're going to have to leave that comfort zone right there, those 5 people. Because as I look back
Mhm.
now, those 5 people that I was always with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they're not even in my life anymore. Do I still associate with them? Yeah, I do.
Mm.
But nowhere near because they're not where I want to go. So just take
Mhm.
action, take your idea, and take baby steps. Just take. If you put it this way, something that helped me when I started off was somebody told me this, Daniel. If you're doing one thing every day to get you to the future that you want, you've won the day. If you're
Mm.
doing one thing every day, if it,
Mhm.
maybe it's one Facebook post, maybe it's one email, maybe it's one phone call,
Mhm.
but one thing is better than nothing. Let me say it again. One thing is
Mhm.
better than nothing. And it's gonna come up because you're gonna have those funky days anyways. Like yesterday, it was just raining here in San Antonio, and we had some stuff going on, and I was just like in that
Mhm.
funky day, and I just I did what I could. Did I do my best? No, I didn't even come near my best
Mhm.
yesterday, but I did happen to help a client. I did happen to do this other thing. And my wife goes, "Why are you being so hard on yourself?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"Because it's just I haven't. I feel like I haven't been productive. They still come. Those days come, no matter how you're in a business."
Right. Right.
But that's the reality. I'm just being
This is.
honest. And I was frustrated. And then I said, "Well," I took a little 10-minute nap, woke up, kind of cleared my head a little bit, and then I ended up staying up till like about 8:30, working on a document for one of my new clients,
Mhm.
for one of my new coaching clients. But it was like, hey, I finished on an
Mhm.
upbeat, positive note, but that was yesterday. So I call those
Mhm.
days, Lachelle, character building days. We're all going to have them.
Mhm.
We're all going to have those
Mhm.
character building days. Those are days where your character's being developed and you're growing. So I really want to tell your audience,
Mhm.
just find something to move towards and take those first steps. And every day, if you take one step, the situations, the people, the resources that you need are going to come towards you because I would never
Mhm.
have been where I'm at if I wouldn't have just continued moving forward. Look, I met you. How did I meet you? Because I continue moving
Mhm.
forward.
This is so true. Yeah, I think it might have been a Facebook post or something that connected
Yeah.
us. I think it was something you posted. That's amazing. Now, so this journey with writing a book, there's people that they have a book in them, putting it off. What advice would you give them to start that process? Because a lot of people have that fear. So, talk to us about how you were able to be at a point where you're getting ready to launch
Yeah,
yours.
so the first book I wrote was You Were Born to Fly. I wrote that actually in 2018, and I almost sabotaged
Mhm.
myself there too. Right. So the thing is, this is you have to just believe that you can do it, and as you move forward, I had my first publisher was pretty awesome. Darren was pretty cool. He kind of coached me
Mhm.
through it, and you're gonna feel frustrated. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, but you're gonna feel that frustration because you're doing something you've never done before. But I would say this
Mhm.
is you have to just get an idea of what your book's gonna be like, and then you just outline. I always tell people 12 chapters, right? No matter what book you write, I always recommend 12 chapters, and the reason I do that, especially if you're a coach, is you want a 12-week program to come out of it. And when you have 12
Okay.
chapters, well, then you break it down into chapters, and then you focus on one chapter at a time. And I think people have the wrong inclination of this.
Mm.
I think people have this is the biggest mistake that I see. People think of the whole book. Don't think of the whole book.
Mm.
Everybody has 12 good stories in them, right? We all have 12 good stories. So
Mhm.
just think of instead of because put it this way, if we think of the whole book, it's too much capacity. It takes up too much. We don't have the capacity to absorb that thought. What a book! But if I
Mhm.
tell you, well, you can
Mhm.
write a chapter, right? Yeah. Well, doesn't that sound easier? So I would say
Mhm.
focus on the
Mhm.
chapter instead of focusing on the book. And next thing you know, you have 12 little books that become a big book.
That's awesome.
Does that make sense?
Mhm. I love that because yeah, it does because a lot of people, that's the thing that kind of hinders them is the fact that they have a goal, and this happens just with everyday things, but because it depends on the type of goal that it is, sometimes we take off more than we can chew. So if you're aspiring for a new house or car, those things we try to take off more than we can chew. Whereas when it comes to developing as you're working towards a goal, those are the things that kind of intimidate us a little more. So I love the way you give that illustration because that definitely puts it in a perspective to help people to understand that it's a journey, it's a process, and with that journey, you just break things down into manageable parts that can achieve your
Yeah. So
outcome. That's
so so because
great.
I've been doing some book coaching along the way since I've written two books now, and people have asked me, man, can you help me out? Yeah. So but it's amazing when we talk about a book, you can tell, and this idea just came to me recently because as you can tell when the conversation about a book is like what a book like I hear it in their voice
Mhm.
or I see it in their face when we're doing a Zoom
Mhm.
call. But we're having our speaker shock our sticker shock academy here coming up July 24th to 25th. And one of the options there is
Mhm.
you get not only do you get a speaker reel, but we're going to have a book called Sticker Shock: Speaking Your Way to Success. So in that book, with
Mhm.
that program level of the platinum, you get a chapter in the book. But the response
Mm.
to writing a chapter has been so receptive as to writing a book. Does that make
Right.
sense? I'm like, well, you can write a
Mhm.
chapter, write the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can write a chapter. Well, I go, well,
Mhm.
you got a couple of stories
Mhm.
to put together about yourself? Yeah, well, good. Don't worry about how the story's punctuated. Just write it out. And they're like, yeah, I can do that. But it's
Mhm.
amazing how they're more receptive on how their belief in a chapter. And I just saw this because we just launched our program actually 2 weeks ago, and we already have five speakers signed up, five authors signed up, and we're gonna have another one that's
Mm.
we're gonna sign up today. So I'm only gonna limit the class to 40 people. But it's just amazing how that we're
Mhm.
talking about this. I thought about it the other day. I was like, man, people are open minded to receiving a chapter. But when we talk about a book, they're like, oh, it's a
Mhm.
book. It's well, just a book is 12 chapters. Just write one chapter at a time.
Mhm. Mhm. I think it's kind of like, the whole thing with you never know what people's um interpretation of what a book entails. So it's like, if you say book, some people could say, oh, I'm not Tony Robbins or I'm not Les Brown or some of these Gary Vaynerchuk, right? They kind of can compare a book to somebody of high stature. And so they immediately discount what they have to say based on measuring themselves up to somebody that they feel is really esteemed, maybe in the book industry,
So I'm
if
going to
that
tell
makes sense.
everybody a secret, right? It's like this: Tony
Mhm.
Robbins' content isn't Tony Robbins. Gary Vaynerchuk's content isn't his
Mhm.
content. It's not. Ed Milet's
Mhm.
content isn't his content.
Mhm.
So it's funny because we all
Mhm.
know Tony Robbins was pretty much taught and trained by Jim Rohn, right? Where did Jim Rohn get his
Mhm.
content from? The
Mhm.
Bible. So
Praise
what I'm
God.
saying
Yeah.
is yeah, we give kudos to them because Tony Robbins has been in the game longer than anybody else. Gary Vee's been in it now for a while, and then you have all these other
Mhm.
influencers. But the bottom line is they all learn from somebody, and all you got to do is take whatever content you
Mhm.
like, what speaks to you, and just put it in your own
Mhm.
language, and then that's what attracts your tribe, right? Obviously, I said something that you like you heard, and
Mhm.
I reference to me,
Mhm.
I speak from my heart, and my if my heart says to be honest and to be just no nonsense, then
Yeah.
I'm that way. But if my heart says, "Well, talk about God," well, I'm going to talk about God. I'm not going to be ashamed of it. If my God says be more inspirational,
Amen.
well, then I'm going to be more inspirational. But I kind of tailor my presentation to the way I feel my heart, which is the Holy Spirit guiding me and leading me, and I'm okay with that. People are going to like it, some may, it's like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm cool. That's not
Mhm.
my tribe,
Mhm.
but I can tell you, I'm real.
Right. Mhm. I love that. I love that. So, speak really quickly about, the whole thing about your tribe and that whole process where, you do find your voice and what that may look like with some people that may continue on that journey with you or may not, because somebody could be in that point and thinking maybe something's wrong. Everybody's not embracing this mindset that I have. So speak a
Well,
little bit
I
about
think
that.
it's amazing because by human nature, in some form, because it goes back to our conditioning. Pretty much 98% of our society thinks the same way, and because we're
Mhm.
conditioned that way since the day we're born. It doesn't matter where we go, where I go speak at. if I say an affirmation, I put it this way: if I say, let's shall finish. So let me say this. I'm going to start a sentence, Lachelle, and I want you to finish it. Money doesn't grow on.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it.
Trees.
Who do you think
Is.
you? The early bird gets the.
Are. Worm.
So where do you live? I've never been to
Georgia.
Georgia in my life. So how do you know that?
Right.
How do I know that?
Something we've been conditioned to
Your
believe.
Georgia's
Yeah.
about 1,000 miles away from Texas, San Antonio, but that's the way the whole United States is
Mm-hmm.
conditioned. So
Mm-hmm.
going back to what I was saying is that we all have this conditioning of lack of scarcity. Right? When do we go to the store?
Mm-hmm.
I remember TG&Y one day, and I'm there telling my mom, "Mom, I want to get these shoes. I really wanted these shoes." And what does your mom say? Well, no, son, they're not on sale. Yes.
Sale.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the way our thinking is. So I say this because we all want to be, so since the same way we're conditioned that way, we're conditioned to want to seek approval from other people. So when somebody doesn't kind
Mm-hmm.
of approve of us, or we don't feel like we're winning their acceptance, we conform to what they want us to be instead of just being who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way your tribe is. Don't
Mm-hmm.
conform to be like somebody else's tribe. A good example is we're having our women's conference here coming up in October, and just talking to, I got like over
Mm-hmm.
80 emails, and I haven't even gone through half of them. We pretty much got out our speakers already, but I could tell that by the ones that I talked to, there was a couple that I spoke to, and I just knew they weren't going to fit because you can tell their vibe, their vibe, right? You can just sense that it's about me, it's about
Mm-hmm.
me, it's about me. I said, well, maybe you're not the right speaker. I didn't tell them that, but I'm just thinking in my mind, like, okay, we'll get back to you,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not part of the tribe that I want to bring in. So going back to what the question
Mm-hmm.
that you asked is that don't conform to other people to attract your tribe. Just conform to your true identity within
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and you'll attract the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Love that.
yeah, and
That is
you'll
so
see that.
true.
But I think sometimes with like
Mm-hmm.
something that I see that one of my mistakes, you start, and I'm guilty of this. I'm human. I'm not saying I'm perfect by no means. I'm not saying that at all. One of the mistakes that I make, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
human nature because we're on social media all the time, and we'll go into somebody's group, and man, they have 5,000 people, they have 6,000 people. Well, it goes back to the
Mm-hmm.
iceberg story. We see the successes they have on top, but we don't see all the struggles that they have in the
Right.
bottom that gave them that iceberg. And maybe it is a bigger iceberg right now.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But
That's,
and
yeah,
maybe they've been in it,
absolutely.
like, I mean, for me, that I've been doing this professionally for going on 3 years, I mean, I think I'm doing fantastic because I think I've done okay. But somebody else has been doing this for
Right.
10, and maybe their iceberg is the same size as mine, but then maybe somebody else is doing it for 10 and their iceberg is 3 times as much. And I'm like, wow, like, so
Right.
I would say this because I feel like I need to talk about comparison. Some of us are an oak tree, and some of us are a radish
Mm-hmm.
plant. And a radish, if you plant a
Mm-hmm.
radish seed today, it's going to grow within 5 weeks, full bloom, boom. But an oak tree is going to take
Mm-hmm.
years.
Mm-hmm.
But keep this in
Mm-hmm.
mind, even though somebody seems like they're blooming up faster than you, and it makes you feel less
Mm-hmm.
than, well, remember, you're that oak tree.
Mm-hmm.
A radish's lifespan is only going to be a certain amount of time. And I can tell you, since I started in the
Mm-hmm.
speaking world, in the training world, in the coaching world, that I've seen many people fall off because they just don't last, or they've had some immediate
Mm-hmm.
success. And I can tell, one speaker comes to mind. I won't say his name, but he came up and you could tell he was kind of braggadocious and just, just from his perspective. And you don't hear from that guy anymore. And it's kind of like that. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like a musician, right? You're that one hit wonder.
Right.
And you don't want to
Right.
be a one hit
Right.
wonder. You want to be consistent. You want to be
Mm-hmm.
consistent like a Michael Jackson music, right? His music carried
Mm-hmm.
over the decades.
Mm-hmm.
You think about, we were just watching a little bit of American Idol the other day just because it was on TV. We were surfing the channels, and Lionel Richie is right there, and it's like I like Lionel Richie when he was from Easy with Sunday Morning. That was back in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
But
Right.
that's
Right.
the kind of
Mhm.
success that you want to have. And I'm not saying that you can't have that success short term, but you want something that's sustainable, that's going to be long. You have to think right now,
Mhm.
especially in this time. I would tell any entrepreneur right there, you have to think long game, because if you're taking shortcuts right now,
Mhm.
shortcuts is going to lead to short paychecks. And the people that have been taking shortcuts in
Mhm.
business are the ones that are going to have, either they're not going to make this coronavirus right. They're not going to come out of this season. They're going to close their doors, or they're going to have a very, very tough time getting back to where they are, because you took those shortcuts. And when you take shortcuts, it's
Mhm.
not going to. I can honestly tell you, by the grace of God, I'm not even stressed out about it. I had my best month here in March, and
Right.
I'm off to a great
Mhm.
April already. I got to close my books today, but it's because I know that I try to help
Mhm.
everybody. And if you're that, and if you attract that type of tribe that wants to be around you, going back to the tribe, people believe in you. People will
Mhm.
invest in you under unnormal circumstances, because they see your heart, they see who you are.
Mhm. I love that. That is just awesome. Well, you have given us some great nuggets. I tell you, it's been just really a blessing. Now, what book would you recommend? Of course, you've mentioned Think and Grow Rich, but a lot of people have a lot of time on their hands. So, some positive books that might get them going on this journey of self
So I would
discovery.
recommend two books. Everybody says Think and Grow Rich, right? But I would say
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
I would say for sure, my first book, You Were Born to Fly. It's simple. It's You can read it within two
Okay.
days, but it really helps you build your confidence. I think a lot of people lost their confidence within this time. And chapter one's about confidence.
Mhm.
And another thing that I talk about in my book that keeps people from moving forward to really finding who they are is unforgiveness. So I speak about unforgiveness in my
Mm.
book, You Were Born to Fly. It's on Amazon, and definitely a great read. You can read it
Mhm.
within 2 or 3 days. But the great thing about my book on that is that it asks you questions at the end of it. So it really makes you think about what you read.
Mhm. I love
And
that.
then the other book
Mhm.
that I would have you read at this time, especially if you're a coach or speaker, is called The Big Leap. And let me see
Mm.
let me see, The Big Leap. It has a goldfish. I'm almost done with it, but
Okay.
so whenever I read a book, I kind of read it to teach it. That way I don't forget it. It's The Big Leap
Right.
by Gay Hendricks. GayHendricks. Gay Hendricks. It's called The Big Leap,
Okay.
and that one's on Amazon too. And
Okay.
it's an amazing book because it talks about we all have an upper limit, and when we reach that upper limit, that's when we start to
Mhm.
sabotage ourselves, and we don't even realize it.
That's good.
So I would say
Okay.
those two books.
Well, the best that is that is awesome. Now, what is the best way for everybody to get a
Well, the
hold
best
of
way to
you?
get a hold of me is to go to my website, danielgomezspeaker.com. That's danielgomezspeaker.com. And you can click the
Mhm.
contact button there.
Mhm.
And that's the best way to get a hold of me. And what I wanted to give to your audience today is I want to give them a free training. It's 7 steps to
Mm.
fly daily. So it's 7 action steps that I myself take every single day. And if they go to
Mm.
danielgomezinspires.com /the
Mhm.
number seven, then steps, STEPS. That's Daniel Gomez
Mhm.
Inspires with an S, DanielGomezInspires.com / the number seven, then steps, STEPS. They'll get 7 emails, and it's going to talk about what I talked about, setting your daily, getting 3 affirmations to get you going, and going back to those small businesses. You
Mm.
just got to tell yourself some words of affirmation, and this email sequence, along with the PDF and the trainings that you get for the next 7 days, it's going to help you to recondition your mindset and get you going in the right direction. So I think that'll definitely be a blessing for them.
I love I love that. Well, thank you so much for such a generous offer, because it's taking those baby steps to get started and having a support system to get you on the right track. I really appreciate that. That's phenomenal. So, any last words that you want to share with everybody?
I just want to really encourage everybody right now. I want you to know that is this is just a season, and you have to understand
Hmm.
that we see it every day, but yes, we don't notice it as that. Right now, we're about to enter the season of spring, then summer. Well, the season that we're in right now in our country, it's just a season. It's going to pass. But the question is,
Hmm.
what am I going to learn that's going to help me become a better human being during this season? So I want your honesty to ask yourself
Mm,
right now, what am I learning right now that is helping me to become a better human being?
I love that. That is great. Well, we want to thank you again, Daniel, for your time and keep us posted on that
Yes, thank you
book
so much. It
release.
was an honor to be on your show, and I really appreciate it, Miss Atkins. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. And
Yes,
we'll
ma'am.
talk
Thank you.
soon, okay?
Bye bye.
Uh huh. Bye bye. What a great conversation with Daniel. It was just a blessing to be able to see his strength and insight in taking a very life changing situation with his wife and dealing with the effects of breast cancer and turning that around to something positive and being able to not only change his own outlook, but be able to look beyond himself and change the outlook of others. And just a great conversation. I encourage you guys to reach out. You know, if you do have that book that you're waiting to write, now is the time, no time like the present, to get out there and to take action, you know, because tomorrow's not promised. So, you know, use this time while you're at home and being able to kind of reflect, to think about what kind of impact you want to leave with the world. You know, what is it that you want to use your voice for? So I encourage you to reach out to him. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please feel free to email me at info@LachelleAtkins.com, or you can reach me through Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, just to name some of the other platforms. I do also have a YouTube channel where I have several videos that are minute or less to kind of give you some bite-sized power points to help you live the best version of your life. I want to thank you guys for listening.